A man walks into a crowded Vienna cafe. He sits down, reads a newspaper for 12 minutes, and leaves without taking a single note. Back at a safe house, he documents the exact number of patrons, the seating arrangements, 3 specific outfits, a license plate parked across the street, and the bulge of a holster under a jacket in the corner. This was standard procedure for the KGB. The Soviets ran the largest intelligence operation in history, and at its center was a specific cognitive standard: perfect recall. A spy who could not remember what he saw in the field was a fatal liability. At the Yuri Andropov Red Banner Institute, recruits went through a highly classified 2-year postgraduate program. The curriculum broke down the brain and rebuilt it into a recording device through systematic drills. These methods do not require a photographic memory or innate talent. They are mechanical, scientifically validated skills designed to help anyone retain visual and auditory information. By applying these specific drills for a few minutes a day, you can train your brain to capture high-resolution details on command. The training begins with Kim's game. Originating from a 1901 Rudyard Kipling novel, military intelligence agencies adapted it into a daily drill. Recruits stared at a tray of 20 to 30 objects for 60 seconds. Then the tray was covered, and they had to list every single item. This works through directed attention training. Humans see a massive amount of visual data, but the brain only processes what it actively focuses on. This game forces your eyes out of automatic mode and into a deliberate manual scan. You can start this today. Place 15 random items on a table. Stare at them for exactly 60 seconds. Cover them up and write down everything you remember. Tomorrow, add 5 more items. The snapshot technique scales focus to entire rooms. Recruits swept spaces using a Z pattern, moving top left to bottom right. This systematic sweep ensures even coverage, preventing the natural tendency to lock on to one interesting detail while missing the room's layout. Observation is the absolute prerequisite for retention. You cannot remember a detail if your brain never consciously chose to look at it. For undercover illegals living abroad, memory was a matter of identity. The legend method required operatives to internalize completely fabricated life stories, childhood addresses, pet names, favorite foods, and recall them flawlessly during hostile interrogations. They achieved this through elaborative encoding. Instead of rote memorization, they turned dry facts into multi-sensory mental experiences. They didn't just memorize an address, they visualized walking down that street, hearing a neighbor's dog bark, and smelling barbecue smoke. Apply this to your own complex data. If you need to memorize a historical timeline or a pitch deck, build a vivid, lived-in narrative around the bullet points. Give the facts a physical setting and attach specific emotions to them. Numerical data required a different approach, the chunking code. Operatives broke 14-digit ciphers into meaningful groups. A meaningless string of 14 numbers becomes a recognizable date, a 2-digit number, and a shoe size. Operational sequences like dead drops relied on the link system. Operatives had to execute precise geographical instructions, like finding specific park benches and loose bricks, entirely from memory. They connected each step of the sequence to the next using absurd, highly exaggerated mental images. The weirder and more extreme the connection, the stickier the sequence becomes. The human brain naturally rejects abstract lists and raw data, but it perfectly retains vivid narratives and chunked patterns. Complex information must be translated into sensory details to survive in your memory. The surveillance walk turned city streets into a training ground. Trainees walked a route and had to recall every shop sign, car color, and pedestrian face they passed. This trained observation while simultaneously scanning for counter-surveillance. This relies on environmental encoding. When you anchor abstract details to physical locations along a route you walk, your hippocampus locks those facts firmly into your spatial memory network. Turn your daily commute into this exact drill. Pick 10 specific details, license plates, storefronts, or construction signs, and mentally log them. The next day, walk the exact same route and deliberately check to see what changed. While training to observe, agents also learn to be invisible. The gray man principle taught them to blend into crowds by wearing average clothes and avoiding distinct behaviors. This training taught them exactly what makes other people stand out. They abandoned full facial memorization, which is notoriously unreliable. Instead, they looked for identifiers, 2 or 3 highly unique features, like a distinct posture, a specific ring, or a visible scar. Use identifiers the next time you meet someone new. Pick out 2 unique physical traits and link them to the person's name using an absurd mental image. You anchor the name to the anomalies. Elite situational awareness relies on the selective encoding of anomalies and identifiers that differentiate a target from the crowd. Every mission concluded with the reporting drill. Operatives wrote highly specific reports from memory, using the act of writing as a deliberate retrieval exercise. Psychologists call this the testing effect. Pulling information out of your brain onto a blank page forces neural pathways to fire, resulting in massively higher retention than passively rereading your notes. Memory was further hardened through the cover story stress test. Trainers would wake recruits at 3 a.m. and aggressively interrogate them to ensure their recall held up under extreme cortisol spikes. You can practice stress-inoculated retrieval at home. After studying material, force yourself to recall it while physically exerting yourself or sitting in a noisy, distracting environment. This line graph shows the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. It demonstrates how 70% of unreviewed information vanishes within 48 hours, but abruptly spikes back to 100% when you utilize spaced interrogation. The KGB added a twist: varied retrieval practice. Instead of reviewing the material the exact same way, agents had to reconstruct the memory differently each time, by writing it one day, speaking it the next, and teaching it a week later. Memory acts like a muscle. It remains fragile until you repeatedly test it from different angles, space out the intervals, and simulate adverse conditions. Rule 1. Pay attention on purpose. You cannot remember what you never actively chose to observe. Rule 2. Retrieve, do not reread. Pulling the information out of your brain is the only mechanism that permanently embeds it. Rule 3. Make the data vivid. Translating dry facts into absurd, emotional stories gives your brain something it actually wants to hold on to. Rule 4. Review under pressure and space it out. If your recall only works in a perfectly quiet room, it will fail you when you actually need it in the field. By practicing these techniques for 10 minutes a day, anyone can sharpen their recall and observe the world with the precision of a trained operative.